Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back here with Susan Corvo Design. Excited to have her here, based out of Fairfield, Connecticut. SusanCorvo.com is the website. And we're here talking about all the different types of services she can do, from remodeling homes to interior design services, using 3D design software, and so much more. So it's fantastic to have you back here. We've had some great conversations, and I know today will be another one. Susan, please say hello. And for those that may not know, just give us a little bit of your background.
Great. Hello. Happy Monday to everybody. I'm Susan Corvo, president of Susan Corvo Redesign, interior design, redesign, remodeling, big kitchen and bath renovations. I really believe everybody should love coming home, and a beautiful home can be affordable. And I think using what you have and love and starting with that, and then kind of adding to it and making it so that you say, I love each and every room of my house.
Oh, wonderful. And we've talked a lot, in regards to all the different types of services that you could provide, right? From moving into a new home. We've discussed kitchen, bath renovations. We've also discussed outdoor spaces and how to create those. And for today, I believe we're going over to selecting window treatments, right? Last week was it Color Your World?
Yes, we did. Color Your World. And now it's about window treatments. And I'd be getting calls of people that are moving into homes, and they're like, oh, my God, I need something on the windows. What do I do? Is it, how do I handle this? And I always say, well, let's take a deep breath and let's think about and not rush into it, because there are all different types of window treatments, from shades to our soft valances, or, thing I call soft treatments, and then hard treatments, sort of like your actual window treatment that gives you the privacy or lets the light come in or not come in, and then something that's more decorative. And I think one of my biggest things for everybody that's just moved into a house is I tell them, I used to say go to Home Depot and buy paper shades, but they don't sell them anymore. I'm very upset about that. They're great. They had all different, they had white, gray, and black, depending upon your light filtration, but now you have to get them on Amazon.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I went in because I had to get a couple shades fixed a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, where are your paper shades? And the guy's like, unfortunately, we don't carry them anymore. I'm like, that's awful. Yeah. Well, it's the first thing I tell people to do when they're moving into a house is not to worry. Go buy the paper shades, stick it up. I've had it in people's houses for up to 6 months. My niece had them for like a year before she decided what she wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, not everybody, even, the paper ones, and you get the ones that you hang on the outside, inside. There's so much to window treatment. So where do we begin?
Well, so we begin with, do you need privacy? Mm-hmm. So in a bedroom, there's a privacy. Do you want to be able to pull them down at night, or are you in the woods and you don't care? And then do you need blackout? I have some clients that really, in order to sleep, need complete blackout. Like they don't want to see the sun peeking in. So you start with answering those questions and then saying that's a shade, whether it's going to be a honeycomb shade, a roller shade, there's a silhouette shade, whether you just want wood blinds, all of those things come first, because that's like fits within the window to really cover the light and have some privacy or some type of, darkness or whatever. And then the decorative part comes in. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about, I don't know what, I think in some homes people say, hey, I really want privacy in my bedroom and bathroom, obviously. So we say, okay, let's think about where your budget is and what you can afford, and then there's options in those budgets. So the newest thing I really love doing, if you don't need real blackout, is it's called a silhouette sheer. It's kind of, I call it a combination from a sheer and a wood blind. So there's actual blinds in there, but then there's a sheer fabric so that when you have them down, you can see through them, but then you can just turn it and it just closes the actual little blind piece, and then you have your privacy. It doesn't give you blackout, but it does give you privacy.
Good.
And they're very pretty, because if you have a bathroom, say, I don't want to keep it closed all day, but I kind of want a little privacy, you can have have it down with the sheer, but then it's, then you can close it if you need it. So it's kind of cool.
And let me ask you this. You mentioned there's a whole bunch of different types of window treatments. So you have the blackouts. You mentioned the paper ones, right? What other types of window treatments are there? I mean, there's a lot.
There are. So you have shades, which are just the roller shades, and not the ones that we grew up with. Remember, are the ones we had probably growing up in our bedrooms were those vinyl roller shades that you pull down.
Yes.
They have come they have come a long way. They come in all different fabrics. They come in some natural weaves, so there's so many options. They come in a sunshade, so they keep out the sun and the UV light. They have come a long way since we grew up, and those are always great if it's a smaller window and you're putting something else on it, but you just need a shade. There's honeycomb blinds, which are duet shades, which are those little honeycombs, which are very popular in most houses. There's also the silhouettes that I spoke about. And then I think vertical blinds have kind of gone out, the ones that used to be on those big patio sliders. They've sort of gone out. There's a lot you can do to automate shades now. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could use your Alexa app, I have to say that quietly, I have one near me, to control your shades in the house and tell her to open and close them.
That is so cool.
It is so cool. I have a client that we just did that. He's like, I want to use her to control everything. And I'm like, that is incredible. So the new motorized shades aren't even they're rechargeable. They're not battery operated. You can get battery operated, but they're really going away from battery. And they're completely rechargeable, and they work with different devices. And you could have one remote. You can work it through your Alexa. I mean, it's amazing what you can do. You could have it all automated if you're building a house and you do the electric work while you're building the windows. You could get up in the morning and press a button, and your shades just open. It's amazing.
Wow. And it's amazing that, I still, in my mom's house, we still have I don't know if they're plastic blinds or like vinyl.
Oh, they're vinyl.
Vinyl. Okay. Vinyl. Yeah.
Yep. We all had them growing up. And, it's a roller shade's a great shade. You really can fit the window really well with it and get rid of all the light. And you can get it in so many fabric options now. And it really looks much more modern, up to date. A lot of people will say, oh, I need to put sheers up, and I'm like, oh, sheers are a little outdated. Maybe look for something more that we do a silhouette shade that has that sheer behind it if you really want to get some privacy.
Yeah.
So there's those options, and I love the motorization option now. It's just things have come such a long way that you can actually tell Alexa to open and close a blind is amazing.
And do you have apps where you can open and close them if you're not even home as well?
Yes. Yes.
That is awesome.
It's so incredible. I mean, pretty soon everything will be so automated. I mean, you can already use a Wemo device and plug things in and use your phone to turn on lights or different apps with some security systems. You can turn lights on and control your heat. And you can actually open and close shades if you want to.
Oh, my goodness. I'm loving all this conversation. I can't wait. And now, which windows in particular do we need window treatments on?
So I always say if you have a powder room and it's facing the front of your house, even though you might be set back from the street, I always say your guests would feel more comfortable with some type of window treatment on there. Mm-hmm. Especially men, they just like, we're standing up here. We don't, put a window treatment there. So I would then absolutely have something that's probably like a silhouette shade, or some people, even shutters have made a huge comeback. Now, I know we think Southern Plantation, but, shutters are truly customized, and they fit your window, and they're just beautiful. You could do just the bottom. You could do the whole thing. It is a true high custom thing to have shutters and plantation shutters throughout your house. And sometimes in a bathroom like that, it's a perfect remedy because maybe you don't want fabric in there or something. You'll just put a plantation shutter, and it stays closed, but it can then be opened. The slats can be opened, and that's a great idea for like a powder room.
All right.
And also, it doesn't feel like it's there on the window, but it's not a big window treatment. It kind of makes the room still look bigger. It's not foofy, but it gives the privacy you need, and they're easy to clean.
Yeah. All right. Good to know. Wow. And let me also ask, for example, like, is there window treatments that can make a room look larger? Should we, how do you handle that aspect?
Yeah, so one of the things we talk about with window treatment is if so first you start with your shade. Like if you need to have a shade on the window. If it's your living room and you don't need a shade, then you're like, no, it's fine. I just want something that makes the room look larger. One of the things to do is take your panels or your cornices or valance up at the top and bring it to the ceiling. So if you're really trying to make the room look larger, you want to bring your eye up. So even if you just have 8-foot ceilings, you still want to get that treatment and that rod all the way up to the ceiling so that your eye then just goes, oh, wow, look at those long, big drapes. Look, the ceiling looks bigger. And then you also want to be careful not to be too voluminous and cover too much to make the room look larger. So the whole idea of there's gerbeau and swags, they're kind of gone out. You see them in some older homes where they've had all these beautiful, the swags and then the gerbeau and the balloon curtains are definitely out. But now they're more into a simple panel on your window. Let it accent, let it blend a little bit, but give a little bit of an accent and frame the window. And what I tend to do is mount them pretty far outside of the window because a lot of times you've got beautiful molding on your window and you don't want to cover it.
That's true.
If you mount the rod far enough to the outside, they're not always, the olden days your curtains were meant to be functional. A lot of the curtains I do now are just, no one touches them. Because the more you touch them, the more stained they're going to be with your hands. So I always say, if it's possible, just kind of leave them there as an accent. They don't need to be open and closed. That's if you need something open and closed, that's when you do a shade.
Yeah.
But the less you touch your curtains, the better off you are. Because the same thing, when you're touching knobs on your cabinet, you have oils on your skin, and that oil rubs off on the curtain every time you touch it. I tend to put a little rod on them. If people say, no, I want them functional, I automate them, number one, so that they just can say, oh, all right, close automatically on a traverse rod. Or I tell them to put a little wand stick that actually they use that to open and close the window. Like you see at hotel rooms.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Those little wands at a hotel room, that's because they don't want you touching the curtains.
Ah, good point. You're right. The oils and the dirt on it. And okay. And a lot of people, now let me ask you one quick question, because like in my house, and it's not fancy at all, but how do you decide between a double rod and if you're going to do curtains, a single rod? What's the style now with that?
Right. So the double rods were meant for having shears and having curtains, or having a big valance on the top and then having curtains. So if you're going to do something simple like a cornice board, which is just a flat board, and then curtains underneath it, then you're going to have to, you wouldn't even need double rods because that cornice board is mounted. But the big, heavy swags and doing the double rods are kind of going out. Most people are sticking with a simple panel and a simple shade, whether it be a honeycomb or a soft shade, a roller shade and a fabric, and then doing panels along the side, or they're just putting up like a valance and a cornice board, keeping it simple. We've kind of gone back to a little more simplicity in our curtain versus something really heavy and overwhelming, because then it makes the room look smaller and makes the room look heavier and darker.
Yeah. All right, good. What else?
You have all these beautiful windows. Why are you covering them completely?
True. And like you mentioned, the molding. Some people have nice moldings. You don't want to cover them. And why waste all that money on doing the moldings? All right.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so the whole, if you're, the shears are really kind of out. I mean, I know people will use them still because, I want to have a little privacy. Well, then I'll be like, well, let's find like a silhouette shade to put up there or something different for the privacy. Because honestly, shears in the sunshine will disintegrate within probably 5 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. If you ever had shears in a room, I remember I had one in my dining room, and when I went to sell my house, in my last house, I went to look at everything, and I'm like, oh, my God, they're completely shredded. And it was just from the sunlight and the fabric. And I'm like, well, I guess I have to replace these or just take them down to sell the house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've had the same thing. I had white shears in the spare room. It was in the sun. Yep. And I got rid of them after a few years because they were so yellow.
Yes. And so one of the things with people that buy very expensive window treatments, if your windows are older and don't have UV protection on them, your window treatments are going to completely yellow and fade. And your furniture, too. I always tell people, remember, when you're doing replacement windows, remember to get a UV factor that's going to help protect your furniture, your floors, and your window treatments.
Yeah, absolutely. And good point. 'Cause I have old windows, 20 something years old, and you can get tan through them. That's how bad they are. So it's, you don't want to put new treatments with those type of windows. No, unless they make them sunproof. But is there anything that's even considered sunproof or no?
Well, yeah, you can use a fabric that has like an outdoor fabric and I say outdoor fabric, they have come such a long way. I just got a book from Greenhouse Fabrics with all their outdoor fabrics. You wouldn't know by touching them that they're outdoors.
Wow.
And they all have a UV protection on them because obviously you're leaving your cushions out. You don't want them to fade. There are some fabrics, if you know that's a real heavy sunshine and there's nothing that you're going to do to stop it, then you could look at a fabric that has more of an outdoor quality to it where it has UV protection.
Yeah.
And that way it would not fade with the sun. The sun coming in. The sun's going to fade everything. If you have sun coming in, it's going to fade your cabinets. It's going to fade your flooring. It's going to, not the tile, but the wood flooring. It's going to fades everything. Fades the paint on the wall.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you look at a wall that had a picture on it and the sun's shining in and you take that picture off the wall, you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, the sun faded the wall.
Good. Well, let me ask you this. If someone's listening now wants to get in touch with you, let's take a quick break here, and we'll come back and discuss more about window treatments, please. So where can we reach out to you?
You can reach out to me at susan@susancorvo.com or call me at 203-536-0712. You can always visit my website at www.susancorvo.com, and it has different ways to reach me there. I'm always open for an introductory, exploratory call for anybody.
Perfect. Stay tuned. And what we'll do, we'll be right back. And when we return, we'll talk more about how you can help our listeners. Please don't go anywhere.
Is your home ready for a new look? Would you love to work with an interior designer but think it's unaffordable? I'm Susan Corvo of Susan Corvo Redesign, and with my unique approach to interior design, you can live in a beautiful, functional home. Whether you need a whole house renovation, a custom designed kitchen, or assistance just choosing paint colors and window treatments, I offer flexible plans that work for you, your budget, and timeline. A beautiful home starts with what you already have and love. Let me help you reimagine your world. Learn more at susancorvo.com.
Hyundai Elantra versus Honda Civic. Look what Elantra has and what Civic doesn't. Hyundai Elantra wins every time.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
My dad used to say that.
Sure, yeah. It's from Geico.
Yeah, whenever I would ask my dad for life advice, he'd sit me down and say, son, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. And look at me now, a well-adjusted adult with a drawer full of plastic bags I'll never use.
Okay, I'm confused. Was your dad a licensed Geico agent?
Nah, he was just a real good dad.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back here with Susan Corvo discussing the amazing window treatments, and she's helping us select them. And there's so many questions, do you want light blockers, practical privacy protectors, room finishers? There's so many different styles and materials of blinds, curtains, and shades. So again, Susan Corvo's here helping us discuss this today.
Great, thank you.
All right.
So one of the other things, people ask me is, I have different size windows in each room. How do you go about thinking about window treatments when that happens? Like I have in the back of the room, the windows are smaller. The front of the room, the windows are taller. They're whole different sizes. Some are wider, some are narrower. And so one of the things I say is then you can use the same fabric. Like, so say the front windows in your living room are long and tall, but there's a back window that's shorter. Well, in a shorter window, you don't want to put a really long, heavy window treatment. Mm-hmm. So in that case, I might say put like a small, like a very soft valance up there. Like it looks like a pleated Roman shade, but it's stationary. You don't move it. And then maybe in the front, use the same fabric or coordinating fabric and do panels. So you can still put window treatments and put fabric window treatments, but they would just be of a different nature. Like you put panels on one and something soft on the other. I always tell people, everyone's like, oh, what about a Roman shade? And Roman shades are fabulous, but they're fussy. So if you're going to take a Roman shade and put it on your window and think you're going to move it up and down every day, you'll have to then make sure all the folds are done correctly. Like you have to refold it because it never goes up nicely. Even if it's automated, there's still some folds that get a little stuck and you got to go kind of fuss with it a little. So I steer people away from Roman shades that are actually being used a lot. If they're there for decoration and you're just keeping them at that one height, they're great. And I sometimes make them and where there are only a few pieces of pleats coming up and they're stationary for clients, and they look beautiful. It's just a little more difficult when you want to use them all the time.
Got it. Good to know. And are those things, I don't know what you call them, excuse me, but they're like those puffy things, valances? What are those things called?
So when we grew up, it was probably balloon balances where you actually stuffed it with paper. I remember
Yes.
Yes, and I remember I loved it. And I remember it was on my window, and I stuffed it with the crinkly paper, and they're out now. No one's really doing a balloon valance. I mean, you can still do a soft valance now where, it's not stuffed. It can have a little bit of curve to it, or you can do a straight valance. Depends on the room. Like for a nursery, you definitely want to do something a little softer, and maybe it's just a little curved valance, maybe one little swag down, something simple. A lot of times in babies' rooms, I'm seeing a lot of people wanting such great blackout that they'll do a shade and then blackout curtains, blackout panels, because then they're really like, okay, that light's not getting in there, waking up my child. And then, not only that, you'll add the white noise machine, and really they'll sleep forever.
Got it. All right. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So what about someone maybe who's, on a budget? How can you create this luxurious look?
Yeah. So you can buy ready-made, by making, calling me in and saying, I want window treatments. I'm bringing you fabric swatches. I'm bringing you all kinds of samples. We're going to my workroom, and it's expensive. It's really expensive to do custom-made window treatments. There are a lot of sites now where you can get panels that are the right size for what you need, where you can say, hey, I want to have panels, I want to have a beautiful treatment, but then you really got to look at some sites that are like, half-price drapes, for example, and see if they have something really nice that you can actually use, or wait until there's a sale. JCPenney used to be the greatest place for window treatments. Not sure how much they have anymore, but they do have some decent panels and things like that you can actually use. And you just have to make sure you measure for the correct length. My biggest thing with people is your curtain rod.
Yeah.
If you're going to put up drapes, any type of panels, the bigger the better for the curtain rod. If you have the option of a 1.5 to 2 inch rod versus a 3/4, definitely go that way. People tend to undersize their curtain rods, and they look wimpy up there with these big drapes hanging from them. And really, the actual rod itself is a piece of art up there. So you want to go as big and thick as possible, so that it's part of the whole thing, and it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm hanging these heavy drapes and this little tiny, 3/4 inch rod. I think that's the biggest mistake I see people make. And you can get great rods like at Bed Bath & Beyond and use your 20% off coupon.
Yes.
Usually you don't always have every size. You can get them online, but they have some really great rods. We used to have a great, it was a cup window curtain place here in town, but they went out of business, and it's unfortunately. But they had some great stuff that was already country curtains that were pre-made, but you can still get some of their stuff on the Vermont Country Store, but their actual store itself went out of business.
Wow.
So it's hard. I mean, and you can go, Home Goods, if you go looking, they have some really great drapery panels and things that you can get. You just, again, a great rod, and knowing how to mount them and where to mount them makes all the difference in the world, and you can get some great things at Home Goods.
And what about, if you're doing, curtains that hanging from those rods, do you need do I call them curtain holders on the side? Is the look now just straight down?
No.
Or do you want to have something to pull them back?
Nope. So those are kind of out now. So really what you're doing is you're mounting them far enough outside the windows where they'll just kind of stay there, and you'll still see your woodwork, but those holders are out now. So people are just taking their curtain panel, hanging it straight down, but making it sure that it's far enough out so you can still see the window and the woodwork.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Learning more from you. Okay.
Yeah.
What else did you have in mind to teach us today about window treatments?
So some window treatments for bathrooms and kitchens, because in the bathroom they're going to, obviously there's moisture and everything else, and even in the kitchen right above the window if you want something. I always say be careful what you put in a bathroom. Make sure you have enough ventilation so that if it gets overheated and there's too much humidity in the bathroom, it's not going to, if you've got wood blinds, it would warp it. So in a bathroom you don't do real wood, you do the faux wood in the bathroom because then it won't warp. Even in the kitchen, I always say if it's above the sink and you love wood blinds, do faux wood in your kitchen and bathroom because of the water issue that's getting on them. And then also sometimes just a regular shade because it's something in a cleanable fabric because you're gonna spill things on in the kitchen, even in the bathroom. You want something that you can clean. So that's really important to think about where they're going and then what type of fabrics you'd put where.
Interesting. All right. And now, do you window treatments, should you be changing them up during the seasons as well, or do they usually stay the same?
They usually, nowadays they stay the same. I'm sure your mother sounded just like my mother. We used to have bedding and window treatments for the season, spring, winter, and she would change them out, and, they would come out and they'd be cleaned and ironed and pressed and put back up, and we're not really doing that anymore. I actually used to do it like 25, 30 years ago when I first got married. I was like, I'll do this too. And then I'm like, I don't have time for this. And it's way too expensive. I mean, back then they probably sewed some of them themselves too, and just put up a little cafe curtain and then they'd change it out. But really when you're decorating the room, you want to make it so that it looks good both in the winter and the summer. So get something neutral. If you want to make it look more wintry, throw a fur pillow on the bed in the winter. And then switch it out in the summertime. And that really can or throw a fur throw on the bed, or on the sofa. Like I put fur throws out and fur pillows during the winter. And then in the next couple of weeks, when I feel like it's really getting warmer, probably April, Easter time frame, I'll go ahead and put all those away.
Yeah.
And because I'm over winter and I'm ready for spring.
Exactly. Well, it's good to know. And also, just to point out here, Susan, the other type of work you do, could you just explain a little about yourself and all the services that you have to offer?
Yes. So I can do everything from decorating and doing window treatments to paint color consultations to kitchen renovations, bathroom renovations, helping you if you're doing a remodel to come in and help the design aspect of it because you may have an architect that's planned it out, but you still need to pick all your finishes. I can help you pick all of those finishes out. If you've just moved in and say, I just don't know what to do with all my furniture and where do I put everything and what else do I need, I can come in and do a design consultation that says, okay, room by room, I can write it out for you. This is what we're going to do in each room so it's cohesive. And I can give you that as a design guide that you can follow on your own, or you can say, okay, I need you to get me these two rooms put together. So I can do everything from soup to nuts, from the flooring to the window treatments to the carpeting to the furnishings, all of that, all the accessories to put that room together for you. So it's really soup to nuts. Whatever it is you need me to do, whether you say, hey, I'm ready to renovate, I want to open up my floor plan downstairs, how do you think that's going to look? I can show it to you on 3D on my software program. To even just one simple bathroom. I just need to do this bathroom, but I don't understand where to even start.
Got it. Wow. And we still have 2 minutes left in the show, Susan. What else do you want to share before we have to go?
So I think one of the things people think, it's not really affordable. Can I afford to hire an interior designer? And I want people to know that that's where I'm a little bit different. I can offer you a 1 hour time block. You could buy a Just Ask Susan credit card, debit card, we call it, for an hour. And within an hour, I can really come in and give you so much information, clarify things for you, educate you. 1 hour with my Just Ask Susan debit card really makes a difference for people because they're like, oh, my God, now I see the light. So it may be that you just need that 1 hour of time of all these, and make a list of all your questions. And I can come in and say to you, okay, great. Here's all the answers to these questions, and here's what you can do to go about it, and really give you some great tips and ideas of where to move forward. And sometimes that's all you need is an hour or two just to get your foot moving forward in the right direction.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And how can we reach out to you, if you don't mind sharing all forms of contact?
Absolutely. You can reach out to me at susan@susancorvo.com or call me at 203-536-0712. Always check out my website at www.susancorvo.com, and you can fill out a contact form on there and get a hold of me.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being here today, and thank you again for the discussion. It was a pleasure having you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jill.
And thanks to all of you as well. We appreciate you. Stay tuned.